The Party for Socialism and Liberation are facing some hard times now, as at least three of their members that were taking place in a July 3 protest are now being charged, or the discussion of being charged, with kidnapping police officers. Now, the claim is highly dubious, but allow me to give you some background of what was going on. Now, on July 3rd, there was a protest in Colorado over the killing of Elijah McCain. He was a young black man, died in Aurora police custody, wasn't even accused of a crime, he just looked suspicious. So they detained him, used the now illegal chokehold, and he ended up dying. So they were protesting that, back in July, and these charges are just coming out now. The police placed McClain in a now banned chokehold, causing him to vomit and lose consciousness. Paramedics later injected him with the sedative ketamine. So, naturally, when you just murder people like that, you're going to get protests. Lillian House, Joel Northam, and Whitney Eliza Lucero are among the group of Denver area activists who are now facing charges to their protest activities this summer. Now, an organizer for the event from the PSL, Ryan Hamby, said that the characterization that someone quote-unquote kidnapped officers is absolutely ridiculous, and he's absolutely right. This is absolutely ridiculous. Now, the Adams County District Attorney earlier this month accused the protesters of holding the cops hostage because they had done an Occupy-style protest, a completely non-violent protest. Protesters prevented 18 officers from leaving the building by barricading the entrances and securing the doors with wires, ropes, picnic tables, and sandbags. That is kidnapping, according to the prosecutor. But putting someone in a chokehold until they die apparently isn't. But I digress. Now, what's significant here, aside from this being, from what research I could do, the first time something like this has been done, where you're accusing people who are peacefully protesting of kidnapping police officers, it's part of a growing thing now that's very concerning. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has proposed a bunch of sweeping reforms that go into a draconian, very totalitarian measure. They call it the Combating Violence, Disorder, and Looting and Law Enforcement Protection Act. Well, it kind of sounds like they'd be doing something about law enforcement, but unfortunately, no, it's not. Essentially, the legislation would allow the state to use RICO, that would be the organized crime laws, against anyone who organizes or funds these kinds of disorderly assemblies. So, let's say you have a protest group, and that protest group, you give $10, whatever, to it. They go out, they protest something, and someone completely unaffiliated with the group throws a brick through a window. You can now be charged with that. That's right, you get charged with a violent crime, even though, one, you weren't there. Two, the protesters themselves didn't even do it. It could just be anybody, and they just claim, well, he was protesting with them, therefore he was a member of the group and did it on their orders, kind of thing. Again, we have those police provocateurs who come in and commit acts of violence, and some of them end up getting caught on camera and followed by people who, cell phone cameras, follow them back to their cars, they get identified, etc. So now that's all the police have to do. If there's a protest over anything, send one provocateur agent, one cop in there, throw a brick through a window, bam. Every single member of that protest can now be charged with that crime. Anybody who gave money to that organization is now guilty of a crime. This is basically organized crime kind of style law enforcement. Because somebody protested. That's how terrified that they are that people are protesting police abuses. Rather than, not killing innocent people, they're going to throw more innocent people in prison. Because that is the mentality. That is the police mentality. That is the law enforcement mentality. That is the totalitarian mentality. Now, DeSantis says this because he claims that all of the violent left-wing protests that have been going on. Unfortunately, a report was released on September 4th that found 93% of racial justice protests since George Floyd's death have been peaceful and non-destructive. All these violent protests that the radical far left are doing, 93% of them were peaceful. But apparently it's like this massive, huge problem, and they're all like that. So he's lying. He's outright lying and saying that it's, worse than it is. I mean, there's much to be said for violent protest and many arguments why it could be considered necessary, but I digress. The point is, he's claiming they're all violent when 93% of them are not. So the state crackdown against dissent, against people being angry for being killed for the color of their skin, and police killings come in all sorts of colors and sexes and ages. If you're against any of that, they're just going to come down on you like you were organized crime, because that's what you are to them. Criticism of police is a criminal act in their eyes. They can't even handle you disagreeing with them. And they have to turn the very idea of disagreeing with their murderous, cowardly ways into an actual crime. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.